Selling your house and buying a new one. This is a process that can be very intimidating to a lot of people, but with the right help, I can assure you that there's a couple different avenues that you can explore that will be very beneficial. And as always, mapping out the process ahead of time is going to really help you avoid some of the major hiccups and roadblocks that you may, experience during this process. So the first thing that I like to identify with clients when we talk about selling their house and moving into another one is identifying the why. Why are you moving to another house? Is it, there's kind of two different categories that we usually find. One category is usually people who have a lot of equity, or they, want to get closer to family. They want to downsize, things that are important, but they're not absolutely urgent. And then there's other people who either their family is growing, their job location changed, like they need to get this next house. And in that scenario, you're going to be a little bit more, strategic with how you write offers and a little bit more urgency with getting things ready. And secondly, it's super important to find a realtor that has had some experience in selling and buying as part of one transaction, because as I said, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's super important to have somebody that's going to be confident in what they're talking about and helping you make the right decisions. But it's always a good idea to interview a few different realtors, like I said, to make sure that you're picking the right one that's gonna serve you and your family the best. Apart from that, once you decide on a realtor, you want to have that realtor over to your house straight away, because you want to be able to take a look at the house regardless of which avenue you're going to go down, and how, if you're going to buy and sell or sell and buy. You want to make sure that you have that realtor over to your house to look at your house, to see what kind of condition it is, see what type of updates you want to do or should do, and then also talk about updates that you may think you want to do, but they may not produce dollar for dollar returns on your investment. And so having somebody who has had some transactions under their belt, and had experience with getting houses in the proper shape to sell, but not necessarily going overboard where you're going to lose money. That's an important first step. And then having the conversation about realistically what your house could sell for, because that's going to give you your general idea of what you're going to net from the house after you pay off your mortgage and pay your realtor and the fees and all that things that come attached with a real estate transaction. You want to know essentially what you're going to net from that house. So from there, we want to map out a timeline. When would you ideally like this to happen? And then from there, we can start talking about the different ways to make that happen. In my opinion, the best place to start, once you have that conversation with the realtor, you get things signed up and ready to move forward, is talking with a lender, which you should be able to get a few different options from your realtor unless you have a bank or whoever you prefer to work with. It's important to have a conversation so that you can find out if you're able to qualify for another mortgage without needing the proceeds from the sale of your house. That's always going to be the best position that you can be in if you can go out and buy before selling, because depending on what the market is doing at the time. Currently, right now, we are in a seller's market. So what that means is, as your realtor, I would say that it's going to be more challenging to buy than it is to sell, depending on what the condition of your house is. But so you have a conversation with a lender, and they're going to tell you if you even can consider buying before you sell, or if you're going to absolutely need the proceeds from the sale of your house. The next thing we want to do from there is you're going to want to strategize what process you're going to use. So the beginning of that is going to look like sitting down and talking about what the market is doing. As I said, currently when I'm making this video, we're in a seller's market. So assuming your house is in a fairly, sought after area, and it's decent enough that people are going to want to live in it, I can be pretty confident in telling you that we will be able to sell that house. Now, on the flip side, buying has its challenges depending on how buying in this market, I should say, has its challenges depending on how, particular you are about certain things that you want. Um, there's going to be competition out there, on the buy side. So that's why I say the best position you could be in, get your house ready to list, even get it on the market, and then we can go look at houses and make offers on houses that are non-contingent on selling your current house. Because if they are if your offer is contingent on selling your current house and you're competing against other people who aren't contingent on selling their house, the chances of your offer getting accepted are less likely. Another strategy that you can talk with the lender out about is something called a bridge loan, where you essentially take the equity from your house and then you're able to go out and make offers, you know, on your new home that are non-contingent on selling that house. Again, that's going to be a stronger position to be in than being contingent on selling, because when you're competing against other people, that contingency tends to make your offer less attractive because the sellers essentially have to hope and wait for your house to sell. So it's a bigger risk for them. But let's say that is not possible. You need the proceeds from your house. You don't want to pay the extra fees associated with a bridge loan. So we want to have some contingencies in there. If that's the case, one thing, again, even having your house listed ahead of time is still the best option. I know a lot of people want to go out and find the next house before they even consider putting their house on the market. But what I've found is that having that house ready to go, and even better, having it listed, or the best case, having an offer accepted, you can still list your house with a contingency on there that states these sellers need to find a place to live before this sale of house will be complete. So you can essentially accept an offer and they will just have to push the closing date back and give you time to find that next house. And essentially, if you don't find the next house, you could then cancel the contract and not sell your house. The difference is here is that when you're selling your house and you're going to buy another one, you need to be contingent on selling it. There's a couple different options when you're writing a purchase agreement on the new house. So the weakest position to be in that scenario is that you're writing offers, competing with other people, and you're writing it contingent on selling your house, but you have to state in there that you don't even have the house listed. That's a tough one to get accepted, but there are ways to do it, just a little tougher. And then the next best option is that you have the house on the market and it's listed, it's already live. Even one step better than that is that you have an accepted offer, because now you're writing offers that are contingent, but you already have an accepted offer on your sale. So it's essentially just contingent on a successful closing. That is a much stronger position to be in because the sellers don't need to wonder if you're going to get offers. They know that you already accepted one and things are, more likely to move forward. Again, like I said, there are some ways to get your offers accepted, some strategies that we can use, assuming that you do need that equity from your house. Most people do. I know I would. Most people don't have the extra cash to just, go buy another house. Some people do have enough financial, fluidity to go and get an accepted offer and have maybe a month or two overlapping. But again, assuming that you don't have that privilege to go and write offers without selling your house first, there are a few strategies that we can use on how we write the purchase agreement while being contingent to make it a little bit more, attractive, which, number one is always going to be adding a little bit to your offer price, because the sellers will then decide, hey, let's take a little bit of a risk and, essentially have more of a reward at the end. You can do things, some people skip inspection. That's not something as a realtor that I would ever, suggest that you do, but that is an option for you. And, different things like that, catering to whatever the sellers are really looking for in that offer. It usually has to do with money. So if you can offer them more than the other offers that are non-contingent, there's a chance that you may get, your offer accepted. Aside from that, I want to talk a little bit more about ways to really make your listing stand out and get it sold. That is going to be the biggest piece, aside from finding the right house. On the sell side, the biggest piece is going to be setting yourself up for success. Just a couple quick points I want to touch on that side. Number one is getting your house ready. And by ready, I mean get it looking good. And so it has a good first impression, because first impressions are always going to be the biggest thing. So, having curb appeal, if you have some really ugly bushes out front, if you have, a door frame or a door that just is shipping paint, garage door frames, those are easy things that look bad from the street or when you're walking up, but they're easy things to fix. And then once you get into the house, The two biggest things I always look at are flooring and walls because, essentially that is about 80% of your house approximately, is floors and walls. It's basically all you see aside from countertops or furniture, staging, but the main structure of the house that people are going to see is walls and floors. So if you have floors that are, you know, really shoddy carpet or just hardwood floors that are in bad shape or linoleum, vinyl tile that are, peeling up, stuff like that, it's almost always a good bet to get that replaced because people are going to start overcompensating when they see things they need to work on. And you don't want them to be, you know, taking $10,000 off their offer when something could have cost maybe $2,000 to repair. And then likewise with the walls, you don't want people to walk in and see dings and scratches and dirty spots all over. Painting is definitely one of the most surefire ways to get a return on your investment. It looks fresh, it looks nice and clean, and they don't automatically start thinking about things that they need to, change or fix before they move in. Aside from that, if you have a really nice bathroom, but the vanity is just kind of old, you could replace vanities. Some people like to paint their kitchen cabinets. White has been a really popular thing, but I am starting to hear that it's possibly fading out in popularity a little bit. But refacing or repainting some cabinets in the kitchen, maybe some countertops, depending on the rest of the house and depending on how bad the stuff really looks. The main focal points of the house obviously are going to be your kitchen, your primary bedroom, maybe a backyard or a deck, like things that people are really looking for. Those are the main areas to focus on. And then once you have those things up to par where they should be, at least a staging consultation is always suggested. A stager does that, work on a daily basis, and he or she is going to be able to come in and really just tell you that you need to depersonalize, take down your family photos. You got too much clutter over here, take that stuff out. All this type of stuff that you or I may not think about, because you live in the house and you're just used to it being there, but they're looking at it from a buyer's eyes. What is a buyer going to see, you know, when they come in this place? And then on top of that, if your furniture is just sparse and you don't have enough stuff, um, doing a full stage is always an option. It usually costs, a couple $1,000, give or take some, but if your house is a nice house in a nice area, it generally pays for itself because it just makes more people excited about it. And the main way to net the most from your house is competition. So I want to talk about the next point before we really dive into the competition. The next point on my list is pricing your house right, um, and marketing. Pricing is part of marketing. So if you think your house is worth $400,000, like you think that's the best that we're gonna get, we have to look at the comparable houses in the neighborhood, and you want to price your house, maybe at 380, maybe at 375, where people that have been looking in that area are going to get excited about that nice looking house that's at a fair price, as opposed to trying to price it at 405 or 410, because the main thing, as I said before, is competition. So you want to make sure your house is looking nice, you want to make sure you price it right, and then lastly, having a realtor such as myself or other realtors that do, professional photos, staging, social media marketing, pricing, staging, those are the things that are going to get you the most excitement and the most activity on that first weekend going on the market. And with that should come the competition. And when people start competing against each other, they get the fear of missing out. Maybe they've been writing offers on several houses, and so that's the best way to drive that price up and get your house sold, the fastest for the most amount of money. So that's kind of the whole spiel I have for today. If you guys need any more advice, feel free to reach out. I would love to be a resource for you, and look for me on the next video.